Just like the program, the printed program, this is the talk that was supposed to be here. But if you want to see an expert on the subject, she is going to be talking tomorrow, Sunday, 9:30, just so you know. And then, yeah.
That is our introduction, yes. We're going to talk about a project. The title of the talk is Changing the Perception of Drugs to the Dark Arts of Advertising. And it's about sort of how you can glorify or demonize drugs depending on what sort of visual language you use and graphic design, which is basically what we work with.
Yeah, I am Natalia. This is Isak. And then just a little bit of background. We work in Oslo. We have our own experience design studio called Alkemist. And experience design, why experience design, and why do we think that, why this is the correct name for our studio? Because we think that everything we do in our daily life, like ordering a pizza, taking an Uber, unlocking your bike, reading the news, is an experience. And we pride ourselves that some of those experiences back home in Norway are designed by us, so that the interface is innovative, is fun, is memorable, is something that you want to come back to. And at the same time, we work also with physical spaces. One of the conferences that we work with is the Nordic Reform Conference. It is happening this year in September in Oslo. And we also think that the experience can also sort of like expand to actual physical spaces, like here during the breaking convention, not conference. And and those are just some of the organizations that in the last few years we had the pleasure of working with. Like Russoplysningen, it's like a Norwegian aerobic, I would say, and Norwegian information about like harm reduction, safe drug use. Action-klinikken, there is a medical ketamine clinic in Oslo. This is the third way, the microdosing website and platform, MSP I probably know, and the Scandinavian branch of LEAP. And then I'm going to talk a bit more about Nordic Reform Conference later, and we're going to mention the Association for Psychiatric Drug Policies as well. And then, because of the Nordic Reform, in 2017 we met Steve Rolls from Transform, and in his work he is using this graph, which sort of was an inspiration for us, because like on both sides you see unregulated criminal market, and on the other side unregulated legal market. So the criminal, legal, that's the main difference over here. And both of those sides are motivated by profit. And we think that that's wrong. And just to make things clear, personally we are against any sort of drug advertising, including tobacco and alcohol. That should go without saying, but we still have to add that tiny information. And here in the middle, this lovely green spot, that's where we sort of aim at. What does strict legal regulation means? I don't know. No one really knows. But I think that we have to move on from the place where we are and just try to explore, try to change the laws, and if they don't work, change them over and over again until the situation actually gets better.
Yeah, and in order for strict regulation to work, you're dependent on a government you trust and that works in your best interest. So a good example might be Norwegian tobacco laws, which are very strict, they're very controlled, they have minimized use, and it's also where you would expect to find pharmaceutical marketing. But
It's how to sell drugs legally.
Or how to sell drugs legally. But pharmaceutical marketing is not really under strict regulation in the way you would think. It moves way more towards commercial promotion, especially in the US. And we've sort of dug a little deep into history here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how pharmaceutical companies use different techniques into tricking you into using and buying their products. And then we start with amphetamine, the gold standard of drug advertising. Amphetamine started its life around 100 years ago in the form of these benzodrine inhalers for military pilots. But soon enough, people found out that you could just crack them open, eat the cotton, and get a pretty pleasurable stimulant effect. This opened the doors for pharmaceutical companies to start promoting it for basically anything at one point, from depression, menstrual dysfunction, weight loss, whatever they thought they could make money on. And there's quite a lot of historical examples on this, which is, it's pretty controversial by itself now actually. It's Dexamyl for depression, and they still hide behind the brand name, and we're fascinated by how effective it is to just put a brand name on it. People sort of forget what it is. So we decided to modernize a lot of these old pharmaceutical ads and sort of see how they would look in a modern context. So then you have amphetamine. Replaced the brand name with the substance itself, sort of modernized the aesthetic, put a little Easter egg of Reagan there in the background. Yeah, it's just a fun fact that at the height of amphetamine prescriptions in the US with this marketing, almost 10% of all women in the US were prescribed some form of amphetamine, which is an insane number of people, 1 out of 10 women on amphetamine. But marketing clearly worked.
Then we have one more example. Also amphetamine for depression and real ad from 50s or 60s. And then the same logic, we twist it into more modern version, just changing the brand name into the amphetamine. There is an actual drug over there. So this is how it would look like possibly in our times. And I'm just really wondering if people that are against amphetamine or base their opinion on amphetamine on like stereotypes would even realize that this amphetamine here is the same amphetamine that is in Adderall or Viganza or any other substance. I'm just wondering if they could be able to connect those dots. Okay, one more example.
One more. Brighten the outlook in menstrual dysfunction with amphetamine, of course. How it could look like if modern pharmaceutical companies choose to advertise it.
And the last example we had is a Noradine. It's a brand name for methamphetamine. And no surprises here, methamphetamine would do wonders for your depression and help you get out of your darkness. So that would be a modern twist to the ad.
But the government did actually crack down on amphetamine prescriptions in like the late 50s, 60s, and amphetamine use plummeted. They sort of got it pretty stably under control. There was some illegal use, but the legal prescription sort of died down. But that is until they found a new way in through the new generation of amphetamine marketing. And now these days, they don't really focus on the drugs at all. So you'll see, these are all real ads. They never mention the drug. We didn't make them, even though they look like it. They don't mention the drug at all. It's sort of just about treating ADHD. But this little logo here, Shire, is of course the biggest legal amphetamine producer in the world. So if you go in and take their quiz, you will be redirected to how you can get your legal amphetamine prescriptions. And we found it very fascinating how these sorts of ads can exist in parallel with the demonizing going on the propaganda. So, see there it is from an Australian anti-amphetamine campaign. And it's very fun to see how it's just the same drug. In one part, it will help your career, make you feel better. Other, it will ruin your career, tear your life apart.
Ruin your skin.
Ruin your skin, and the self-image thing, they sort of failed to show the in front of the mirror part in the Shire ads. And that brings us further into drug propaganda posters, which is another funny aesthetic. Because here you have ecstasy, made using drain cleaners, battery acid, hair bleached. This is actually a real ad. I'm sure there are some sketchy looking MDMA labs out there, but I highly doubt anyone cooks in the toilet. So let's just see how sort of this aesthetic can be used for anything. This one we made for alcohol. We're not lying. It is the most widely used state rape drug. We're also sort of just putting a dirty picture in it, bold text, screamy colors, making it look ugly and nasty. One more. Same technique. Demonizing alcohol. And you can even do with milder things. So coffee, stress, tension, insomnia, anxiety, and addiction. Definitely something to think about when you get your fix in the break.
Yes, and it's also very interesting that the blue poster, the anti-drug propaganda on MDMA, like, of course, it doesn't look like that, but at the same time, we have created, you might be seeing posters around, a poster for Compacidol that in our bubble could be a pharmaceutical brand for the MDMA. And then you just sort of see like how the same drug can be just twisted into completely two different realities, because there you have obviously something that's scary, and here on the other hand, it's like, okay, maybe I could try it. It's not scary. It's, if anything, it's safe, it's adventurous, it's exciting, it's beautiful. It's something that you sort of like want to try, want to be associated with, and then we can take it even further. And just sort of imagine that this is an ad in a newspaper, and what pharmaceutical companies does very often is like the patient portrayal, right? So this is just a stock photo. This is just a random people that posted the picture on like free stock website that we just downloaded and used this for the ad. And you can just see like how the feeling is changing. Like this is the same MDMA that was on the previous ad, but this MDMA is safe, it's cool, it's beautiful, it's interesting, and you're not scared of it. The other one, you're afraid that you're gonna die. And then again, and then you can also go to the Polish www.compassidol.com, and there's a whole website about Compassidol and how possibly that could look like if MDMA will be pharmaceutically produced.
Yeah, and the Compasso website is pretty much duplicated from one of the Shire websites, so it's basically copied but replaced with, of course, our brand name.
Yes.
And this patient portrayal goes in almost all the amphetamine sites at the moment. So you can basically take any picture they want, put that disclaimer on, it's cool. It's not the patient, it's just how it could be. And we can do this with more drugs in the Cybin. Embrace the light within. In the Cybin was actually the real name Sandoz used when they produced psilocybin, so could be re-released at some point. And with the trends in microdosing, it is definitely not impossible to see something like this in the future. Here they even sort of blatantly stole the psychedelic reference, but open the doors of performance. Take some LSD.
Take some LSD, yes. Yes.
Yeah, that sort of concludes the first
but
part
that's,
of our talk.
Yeah, that brings us to the second part of our talk, and I think it's important to see that those are sort of like the tricks, so like the logic or like everything that is like very, 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 very horrible about the marketing and advertising industry, like those are the tricks that they use to sort of like make the same substance bad and good. And at the same time, we know those tricks. As you can see, we can like create those ads and like you don't know if it's real or fake. And at the same time, like another trick that is like very, very, very popular recently is target marketing. And yes, I know it is a hard subject to talk about. And I just want to make everyone safe. We're not going to get any personal data from you. We can already buy it online, so don't worry. And yes, and we just want to explain what targeting is, to be honest, and at the same time sort of like go to the point when we will wonder if you can use target marketing for something not evil. Because as you, Julian, said, like infiltrating the system, and then I sort of feel like we are infiltrating the system, learning their skills and taking it to another level and then changing it from within. So I think that this is very important because that's the reality and that's how it works. And we thought that the best example of showing how the target marketing works is on the real example of the conference that we work in Oslo.
Yeah.
And then the first step to sort of make sure that your target marketing campaign will be effective is to sort of like choose a group that you can actually influence with your message. So you have like drug positives in the context of a Nordic Reform conference, that is. You have drug hostiles, and then you have disengaged middle, right? And then drug positives, it's us. We are the community. We have the same values. We share the same opinions. You don't really need to convince us that what we do is the right thing to do. Drug hostiles are the people that most likely with all the money in the world, with all the efforts in the world, they will never change their opinion. So based on that, drug hostiles it's just a waste of resources, time, hope, and energy. So based on that, we focus on drug positives and disengaged middle. And if we actually want to bring some change to the world, we need to engage the people that are still not engaged in the process. That's why we need to find who can be in the disengaged middle.
Yeah, because the drug positives will be reached by organic spreading. Like, you don't have to tell the dude in the LSD t-shirt that drugs are okay. But to reach the disengaged middle, that's where the target marketing companies come in. So I'm just going to show you slightly how that works. Very simplified, but you go to a target marketing company like Cambridge Analytica is the best/worst example of, but there are hundreds, if not thousands of these now. They sit on massive amounts of data, very complex algorithms. So you come to them and say, this is who I'm trying to persuade. How can I do it? What do you recommend? They will go through all their data. They will sort of pick out channels or networks that they feel is most relevant, where your money will be best spent. Yeah, we picked out for biggest networks. And for the sake of example, we'll take Facebook. So on Facebook, you have, so this is all the disengaged middle, or a fraction of disengaged middle we're trying to reach. So it will allocate the budgets into where it's most likely to get the best results. And then you take these, it would be way more, of course, in reality. And then you start producing ads. And you produce a lot of ads, like 50, 100 ads is little in this business. So you just keep spamming with ads and the algorithm will learn what works. So maybe none of these worked. Then you just pump new ones. And if it works, it sort of gets upgraded, the money gets that way. If it doesn't work, it just cuts it off. You don't have to do anything manual, the algorithm fixes everything. One more, maybe some of these worked. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Cool. And then if you have enough budget, this is how you do it in sort of the bigger industries. So this is all websites for the same conference, but they will be targets, like custom made for each audience. So the information is basically the same, but it's just set up a little differently, sort of tweaked to fit who you're trying to reach. And these will all exist in parallel and can be a lot of them. So if you go into the main website, you will see the main website. If you click on an ad, you'll get an ad that's sort of custom made for you.
Yeah, and just like a few words about the Nordic Reform Conference, it is a real conference. This one we did not make up. It's a drug policy reform conference in Oslo in September. And yeah, if you're interested in that topic and if you want to talk to us about the Nordic Reform Conference, please do it. And if you already have a ticket, we will see you in Oslo.
Yeah, and unfortunately we did not have the budget or resources to do this in real life. It costs a lot of money to make a campaign like this. But if we had resources, this is how we would have done it.
And then, knowing the tricks of the marketing, understanding target marketing, we think, can we do something about it? Can we create something positive? Can we create something good? Can like the evil that is already created by target marketing in the world have some sort of competitor in the goodness that can be created with the same skills and same techniques? And yes, we have, like some of you have been in Prague, so they have seen like the very beginning of the pretty drag things. So we started with images that are like released for everyone to download and use them on their social media. So far, they have been downloaded thousands of times and they have been viewed millions of times because they are available on like a free stock website. And the newest addition to our project is the social media content. For now, it's focused on drug policy reform and like harm reduction, and it's also available for free on our website. There's no logo, there's no branding, so everyone can just download them and post it on their Instagram, on their Facebook, and use them and just like spread the right message. And yeah, and then the newest addition to our...
Yeah, because this is sort of the foundation of a big marketing campaign we want to do in the future, which is inspired what we did in Norway. So the working title we have for that now is New Perspective, and it's based on like in Norway now. 5 years ago, the situation was pretty similar to here. Politicians didn't really talk about drugs. If they did, it was demonized. It was sort of morally wrong. And then through the efforts of a lot of social media promotions, a lot of articles as well, and just political lobbyism. But last year, the Norwegian government finally said that they will decriminalize drugs. And it will happen within the next few years. And last year, almost every big political party in Norway had on their agenda to move drugs from the criminal sector over to the health sector. So that's sort of the goal.
We want to check if it's possible with target marketing to like spread that knowledge and spread that experience. And I don't know, maybe Sweden next. Maybe Denmark next, maybe Scandinavia, maybe UK, we just don't know. But it will be just like very, very, very exciting to try, to see what we can do, and to just use the techniques and skills that are so connected to the evil that is right now happening in the world, and just like show them that it can be done in a different way. And so the website is up and running. There's all the information, even more than we just said today. There's you can donate some bitcoins. You can send suggestions for the social media content. We can create your content of your dreams. And you can just be a part of it or help us out. So it would be great if you could just visit there. There's a newsletter as well. And anything else?
I think we pretty much covered it.
Yes.
Pretty great things.
That's us.